Hello everyone and welcome to Newegg TV. My name is Paul and today we have a special guest in the studio. This is Ryan from Creative.
Hello.
How's it going, Ryan?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
All
and
right.
you have brought a selection of sound cards for us today.
Yeah, we're showing off. We brought in here to show off the audience the new Sound Blaster Z series of cards. We have 2 in the lineup. There's 3 in the full lineup. We've brought the first 2 in the lineup. So we've brought the Z.
ZX?
ZX,
and
you've
I
learned.
understand there is also a ZXR.
There is a ZXR, and we'll talk a little bit about the ZXR.
The mythical ZXR.
Yes, it's like a unicorn, a prancing unicorn.
So we want to first jump to talk about sort of some of the unifying factors for all of these cards, and also sort of the design philosophy, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when you guys are creating sound cards as discrete add-on cards for computers, and you're sort of taking a look at the market and what people want to have in a sound card. So what have you found that people most like to see when it comes to a discrete sound card?
So, great question. And one of the things that we've done at Creative and Sound Blaster is we've really looked at, in today's market, you know, back in the day, it was pretty easy. It was, if you want sound, you have to get a card. Otherwise, you get the bleeps and bloops. That's, you know, easy decision there. Then it ventured into other things where you had to, if you wanted to control your CD-ROM player and you wanted to play CD audio playback, and as time progressed, you know, all of us who've been in the component business forever, you know, do-it-yourselfers, those things started going motherboard, one by one. So we've always tried to be one step ahead. Okay, what's the next thing that we can add in, the functionality we can add in, and then eventually it got to the point where even at the operating system level, there's a lot of the stuff that the sound cards used to handle that were being integrated into the operating system. We know Windows, as it evolved, it started taking audio subsystems and putting them inside of the operating system. Then you had the removal of direct audio, which was another, you know, kind of hurdle that you had to get past if you wanted to really bring something to the table. So when we were conceptualizing the Sound Blaster Z line, we really tried to look at what philosophy do we want to take and what are we bringing to the table. And when we were looking at the lineup, one of the biggest things, you know, a lot of us are the PC enthusiasts in the building, whether it be gamers or content creators, content consumers. We wanted to make cards that would be relevant for today. And so one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was obviously great sound quality, because the #1 benefit that you're going to get from a sound card, and a lot of people will say back and forth, but anybody who has a sound card clearly knows that onboard sound does not sound nearly as good as a discrete card does.
I can attest to that.
Thank you. And it's just one of those things. I liken it to if you buy a car, and you get a car and you have your baseline stereo in it. Sure, you're going to be able to play the radio, you'll play your CDs, and it's going to sound okay. But the moment you go and put an actual system in the car, and you get real component speakers, and you get a real amplifier, and you get a subwoofer put in, suddenly you're now entertaining yourself in your car more than just passing the time. So I kind of liken the discrete cards as you're upgrading your audio system. And you know, it goes beyond just signal noise on the motherboard. Reaching your listening devices. It's quality of sound, it's purity of sound, it's warmth of sound, and so one of the things that we focused on was quality. That had to be paramount in the entire lineup.
So as you're looking at folks who might be interested in a discrete card, are you finding this is mostly like your audiophile, your folks who have, you know, the really high-end 600 ohm headphones, that type of thing, or do you see like a more wider range of folks who are actually looking at these types of cards?
So it's varied. There certainly are the audiophiles. There's certainly the people that have grown up with the, you know, component architecture, and they're thinking, okay, I want to. #1 thing is I got my video cards. What sound card am I adding in? Because it's kind of addicting at that point, and you know once you've experienced it, it's much different. But there's a lot of people out there using the 24 ohm standard stuff. There's a lot more standard ohm stuff than there is the high-end stuff. But it's kind of like having 600 horsepower in your car. You know, you're never going to really get to use it, but if you do get to use it, it's pretty cool. So those who have stepped up on the delivery mechanism side, they can certainly take advantage of it. And but you also have the people that are looking for content creation as well. That's kind of the other side. So really a core base, easy core base for us is gaming. That's a very easy thing to do. You know, you want better sound, you want surround sound, you want virtual surround sound over your headphones. Those type of things require processing and additional stuff, and you really don't want to load your CPU with that. Even though the audio overhead for CPUs is pretty low when you look at it compared to graphics and whatnot. You know, you got people out there that, you know, target audience for Newegg here that, you know, they'll spend $1,200 on a dual SLI rig just to get 2 or 3 frames per second more than what they had before.
It's also a good excuse to open your computer up and actually do stuff inside.
Absolutely. It's like, you know, putting in new headers and tweaking everything, getting in there, you know, and liquid cooling. I haven't seen anybody liquid cool an audio card yet, but that could be a cool competition.
It's coming in the future.
So yeah, so what the kind of, you know, pillars that we've built around is content consumption, content creation, and then bringing something new to the table. So we want to add quality in there. We want to make sure that the baseline for the Z series cards is 116 dB SNR. So that's our minimum spec for the Z series. Anything in the Z series is going to be 116 or above. And what that's going to do is give you a really, really clean and pure sound. The other thing with the Z series is all of them have the 600 ohm headphone amp, the headset amp, whichever way you want to talk about. Some people listen on headphones, some people are using headsets as well. So we're able to get the correct impedance and be able to power those headphones correctly. I mean, it's all about making sure that you can use it if you have it and you've stepped up into that audiophile space.
And one thing I noticed when you're looking at audio cards, especially for folks who maybe have built a computer but haven't really looked at discrete audio, signal-to-noise ratio, SNR, that's a spec that you see a lot. And you see the various ratings on that. How would you maybe give our viewers a more clear definition of what signal-to-noise ratio is? So
really your signal-to-noise ratio is your noise floor. So you're looking at the higher the rating goes, the less noise you're getting inside of the signal. I mean, that's layman's terms. So what you're looking for is the higher the value, the more pure the sound's going to be. You're not adding in artifacting, you're not adding in extra elements in there like analog noise that's creeping into the board and other types of interference in the sounds. And it's really key to people who have a fine ear or people who have been listening to high SNR components for a long time. Because the moment that you move down, if you're trained to listen to a high SNR component, and the moment you move down into something that's less, it's instantly noticeable. It's like going from that car where you have the system in it, and you go to a rental car, and now all of a sudden you're back to the stock radio. It's the same thing. You hear the noise, and you've been trained to listen for it. So in layman's terms, what you're looking for is it's really purity of the signal. And there are some ceilings you can hit. You know, you can only go so far because at some point there's elements where you're not able to remove everything. But when you start venturing into the 116, 120 range, you're really maxing out what's possible on a PC just because of the nature of PCs and the ways they're built and the way that data moves around the board and how much signal is coming out there. But at 116, you're getting a pretty pristine audio quality, and then at 120, you're in pure audiophile territory at that point.
So for any audio experience, whether you're playing games, music, movies, of course, if you want to hear higher quality of audio, of course, a discrete card, and specifically the Z series, is going to be a great way to go. Of course, for gamers out there, it's also going to give you the added benefit of offloading some of that processing from the CPU to the sound card, and it could even improve your gaming experience through that way, not even when you're talking about the sound. And then, of course, like as you mentioned, you have the content creators who can gain some added benefits from the hardware that's been developed to allow you to more accurately capture audio, work with audio. And all right, so that said, we're going to take a closer look at each of these cards. We're going to do a quick unboxing of the Z right here. Then we'll take a look at the ZX and sort of the what you get by moving up the chain from the sort of intro here with the Z to the ZX and then ZXR.
All right, sounds good.
So here we have the Sound Blaster Z. So this is sort of the base level for this series of sound card. And let's talk a little bit at least about some of these icons that we have on the box here. So we'll start off with the SBX.
Yeah, so SBX Pro Studio is our audio suite. It's our audio customization and effects suite. And SBX really sits on top of the Sound Core3D chipset that's inside of all these cards, and we utilize the processing power of the Sound Core3D chipset to add different effects and enhancements to your audio and lots of customization layers in there. And I could talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also have Crystal Voice.
And Crystal Voice is the other component. So SBX is kind of the delivery mechanism, and Crystal Voice is the recording mechanism. And What Crystal Voice does is it also uses the processing power of the Sound Core3D chipset, and does lots of cool things. We have the dual beamforming microphones that come with the Sound Blaster Z. It allows us to do beamforming in the processor. It allows us to do active noise cancellation, background noise cancellation, acoustic echo cancellation. So we have all these different effects that we handle for the voice side of it as well. And as you know, in today, a lot of PC players, obviously, internet, you know, you're playing MOBAs, you're playing MMOs, you're communicating a lot more than you used to if you were just playing you know, a solo FPS game. So in the era of team gaming, Crystal Voice is actually quite cool.
So this is going to help, like if I'm trying to talk to somebody on TeamSpeak or Vent or something like that, it's going to actually cancel out like sound coming out of my speakers?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, yeah, exactly. So the Crystal Voice, there's several things that we do, and they all can either be turned off or on, however many layers you want to use. So one of the things that we do is, let's say you don't want to wear a headset and you want to game or you want to take a Skype call without a headset on, but you still want to be listening to your speakers. So what we can do through Crystal Voice and the beamforming microphone is you pop the beamforming microphone on top of your monitor, just sits there, it looks cool, and you could be talking, playing music or your game through your speakers, and because we know, because we're delivering the audio, what's going through the audio path, what we do is we take your voice that's being pushed through Vent or TeamSpeak or whatever it is, Mumble, and we remove the audio path that is coming out of your speakers. So we do a compare in real time, remove everything out there. So the only thing that people are going to hear, even if you're blaring your music or your game over the microphone, is your voice. So it's a really, really cool technology, and that utilizes the processing power of the Sound Core3D.
And so again, that's being processed by the chip on the card rather than by your processor?
Absolutely, yeah. No host hit. It's all being done on the chipset. And then on top of that, we have active noise cancellation. So we are able to remove background noises, you know, consistent noises, refrigerators. We haven't quite worked out Screaming Baby yet, which is embarrassing for me sometimes, but we're working on a Screaming Baby filter. And then we have the beamforming microphone too. And one of the key differences is we have two microphones, and we're able to actually customize an arc for the microphone, so, or a cone, if you will. So when that microphone's sitting on your desktop, or on your top of your monitor, you can change the width of your cone. So if you want it directed just on you and you only want people to hear you when you are right in front of that mic, you can. And you could literally go talk here, lean to the side and talk here, and the mic will not be picking up your voice. So that really makes it so if there is somebody talking to the side or you have a TV playing over here, all of that voice or audio is removed from your audio stream as well. So when you stack all those things on top of each other, what it translates to is really, really cool voice and great sounding voice, even if you're in a loud room, and none of it's being processed on your CPU. It's all being processed on the card.
So if you're screaming to your teammates that you're pinned down and you need help,
yes,
they won't actually hear the other conversation going off out to the side.
No, they won't hear your wife yelling at you.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. So
get off the computer because I want to play.
There you go.
That's what my wife would say.
We also have Dolby Digital Live support, DTS Connect support. And we've talked about the 600 ohm amp that's standard in all the Sound Blaster Z cards. Again, that's really important if you want to have the best sound. And one of the things I also want to make sure is just because you don't have a 600 ohm amp headphone doesn't mean that you're not going to benefit from it. So because of the way that the power is handled and the way we're powering it, it's a much more powerful overall amplifier. So even if you have a 24 ohm amp or a 24 ohm device or a 150 ohm device, you're still going to reap the benefits of the 600 ohm amp. But the sound is just going to sound a lot more. You're going to get a lot more consistent power going to your headphones or headset. So the bass and everything is going to be very consistent and sound great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next up we have Scout mode, which is also known as cheating.
Yeah. We call it advantage, you know.
Okay.
So when you're on the battlefield, you know, you want to have all those toys in your bag, so to speak. So what Scout mode does is really interesting. Is we've used the expertise of the pro gamers that we work with, and we've isolated sounds and ranges of sounds that really give you audio cues inside of games. So for instance, if you're playing Counter-Strike, CS:GO, or you're playing Call of Duty or whatnot, and you're constantly, or Battlefield, and you're constantly getting knifed by guys creeping up behind you, those audio cues are in the game, and they're meant to give you warnings. Well, we actually are able to enhance just those specific audio cues inside of games because we know the ranges those live in, and it really gives you something like we call Bionic Hearing. So if you're sniping off of a roof and you know that that dude with his shank is coming for you, you can actually engage scout mode on the fly through a keystroke, and it will give you that extra edge of hearing those footsteps creeping up on you, a couple seconds before it's a lot louder and more evident that somebody's coming for you.
It's like having ears in the back of your head.
Yeah. Yes, it is exactly.
So to speak. Anyway, all right, so we talked about the scout mode. And of course, powered by Sound Core3D, your discrete audio chip, which is not just a codec, but also actually performing the audio processing.
Yeah, and that's a key difference with the Sound Blaster cards, is we actually are processing audio on the card. So discrete cards outside of ours really don't process the audio. What they're doing is they have a codec on board. The host is doing the processing. So your CPU is doing all of the processing, and then that's being routed through the card, which has upgraded componentry, gives you that great analog or digital to analog conversion, so it sounds better, and delivers it to you. If you're not using a Sound Blaster card like our older X5 stuff, all the way up to the new SBX, all of the audio is being handled by this host still. So you are getting a CPU hit, and the more effects you're adding in and the more intense those audio effects are, the more CPU hit you're going to see. Like I said earlier, it's a small hit. It's negligible when you compare it to graphics. But if you're looking for those extra 2 or 3 frames per second, this is one way to do it, is to actually have audio processing.
So with that said, we sort of gone over the outside of the box. Of course, we must not forget that there's actually stuff inside as well.
Yep.
So let's take a look. We're just going to do a quick unboxing so you guys can see what all comes with it. We have this nice, oh, it's kind of soft.
Yeah, it's velvety.
It's quite luxurious. So here we have the Beamforming microphone.
Yep.
We also have the card itself, which is securely strapped in, I might add, so nice and safe in shipping. We also have, this is software and drivers?
Yep.
All right. That's a little quick install guide on the back. So.
And one thing I wanted to mention also is we've really listened to the feedback, both internally and externally, on drivers and bloat and that type of thing. And one of the things that we've really enhanced with these new cards is we've streamlined the drivers, the installation process, the driver process is a lot smaller of a footprint. And we spent a lot of time with our user interface as well, listening to feedback from all of the Sound Blaster fans out there. So we have a really cool, streamlined interface, really easy to navigate. We've also added a feature that people have asked for a long time, the ability to switch between speakers and headset in the software. So you don't have to go actually into Windows. You can actually just toggle one switch, and it will switch between the different output paths as well.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Some very welcome changes on the software side. Yep. Next, we're going to take, let's say, a closer look at the card itself.
Yep.
And we have one already out of the box right here. So.
Yeah, so what we have here, this is the Z card, and the Z card, you can see the Sound Core3D on top of that. This is actually a cover for the chipset that's underneath. The chipset actually is quite small. It's been made to be very, very small, very, very unobtrusive on the PCB. And on the top, we have the ECM shield. So we're doing some analog shielding on the top with this. Okay. And we have the Nichicon fine gold capacitors inside. So we're using high-end capacitors inside to make sure that the power of the audio is being delivered through the board, and we're not corrupting the audio path. And one thing that's standard on the Sound Blaster cards also is a multiple layer grounding. So we're actually providing more analog noise protection by adding a layer in the PCB that actually filters out analog noise as well. So that's actually, the PCB is several layers, and we have a layer specifically dedicated to eliminating noise, even on the Z series card. And that goes up and gets more complicated as we move up the line.
Okay, and some other little pointers to make here. So this is a front panel audio connection?
That's a header, yep.
Header for front panel. Of course, this is a PCI Express X1 connector right there, so it should plug into just about any available PCI Express connector on the computer. And then why don't we take a look at the inputs and outputs here on the back?
Yeah, so you have your discrete multi-channel audio outputs. You have your microphone in, microphone in. You have your headphone out, and that is powered by the 600 ohm amp. And then you have your digital audio in and out as well, right there, all on the back on one card.
Toslink optical connectors for that.
You got it.
And then I like that you guys have gone with a flat. This is sort of a very dark brown, pretty much black PCB.
Yeah, it's black.
So black PCB,
Yep.
which blends in very nicely because a lot of folks, especially if you're spending a lot of time and effort building a system, you want it to look nice. And I really like the color scheme you guys have gone with.
And there's one more bling factor. When you plug it in, we do have the red LEDs inside. So it has this really cool kind of demonic red glow to it. And that's one of the things you're going to see is where we know the enthusiast wants their rig to look awesome. Otherwise, there wouldn't be windows in the side of every rig. So we're really paying attention to our fans, and we're really trying to make sure that we're adding something every step of the way.
All right, so let's take a quick look at the beamforming mic. Since we already talked about this, and you mentioned that it has that capability to sort of hone in on a cone of input.
Yep.
It's also got some plastic.
A little protection there.
To keep it nice and shiny.
Yep.
This is sort of something I like doing, is peeling this stuff off.
To reveal the magic underneath.
Guilty pleasures. Okay, it's stuck.
Go around the front.
Oh, it's wrapped around.
There you go, yeah.
You'd think I'd be good at this by now. All right. So beamforming microphone.
Yeah, so this is the Sound Blaster beamforming microphone, and it's the Crystal Voice. It uses Crystal Voice. It ties into the stereo. We actually have a stereo mic input on the board, so that input just isn't for a single channel mic. It actually does a stereo mic, the microphone in. And what we have here on there is two microphones on the far ends of this beamforming microphone, and it's meant to sit on top of your monitor. And what we're doing is that allows us, because we have two reference points that are recording, we can do lots of cool things. We can do the noise cancellation. We can do the beamforming angles, so we can actually change that cone because we can change how the microphone is attenuating and listening to the environment. And the stereo recording gives us just a lot of cool things we can do. So we're constantly evolving the way we're handling recording, and because we know a lot of people right now aren't just gaming and Skyping, but YouTube artists and people who have podcasts and whatnot. There's no reason why you have to have, you can't utilize something like this for that. It's really made so it's super convenient for you to be able to record your voice and you know, whatever you want to be recording.
Excellent. So let's look at the hardware and software that's included with this particular package. Again, this is the Z that we're taking a look at. And we're going to move up the line now because we do have the ZX next, and we'll take a quick look at everything that's included with that one.
All right.
So next up, we're going to take a look at the ZX that we have right here. So a lot of similarities between the Z and the ZX. So I am going to pull this out of the box because that's what I like to do. Cool. But essentially, the primary difference here is going to be we have the ACR.
ACM.
ACM.
There you go.
I'm really good with acronyms. And what does ACM stand for?
ACM stands for Audio Control Module. Yeah.
That makes sense.
There you go.
All right, so let me pull this out, just cause. Also, I like your packaging because it's kind of fun. It's soft.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little tactile feel. Makes you feel special when you pull it out.
So there we have the same Sound Core3D discrete sound card there, as it's tied in, just as in the Z. And then we have, what's in here?
It's all the assorted goodies.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, we do have more. Oh, look, Toslink.
Yep.
I see Toslink. You get extra accessories here.
Yep.
All right, so we have a Toslink optical audio connector right there. We also have, is this a splitter?
RCA.
Oh, RCA, look, so I love these cables. I try to keep a few of these hanging out. This looks like a pretty high-end one, so we got gold plating. Simply 1/8 inch two RCA connectors there, so you can more easily connect, for instance, a stereo or something.
You got it, or high-end speakers. Yeah, either way.
Use the RCA connectors, and then of course the software as well as drivers on the disc right there. And then lastly, in the box, of course, we have the ACM. Yep. Which is in the box, and again, this one's all tied in real nicely. And since we are going to be doing a giveaway,
you are.
I'm not going to pull this out entirely, but there you have it. So really nicely packaged, nice and well protected in there. So make sure you get everything in one piece. And let's take a closer look at the one that Ryan has over there.
Yeah. So this is the ACM that exact same one there. And this is really the differentiator between the Z and the ZX. And going back to what we originally talked about is what's the use case for these cards and what are people using them for? And one of the things that we learned and we've learned forever is people like the front bay panels. They like to be able to connect. It's all about the sound card gives you the option of having more holes in the PC to connect audio to. And as headsets have evolved and become integral to what people are doing with their PCs, whether it be recording your voice or playing games or whatever, we wanted to come up with a cool module that sat on the desktop and allowed you to get more control over that. And so what we've come up with is the ACM here. It's got a cool, really durable cable here, and once it's routed, it kind of stays in place.
Nicely braided.
Yeah, it's got a really nice feeling, cool kind of analog feel knob here. It's really silky smooth. We spent a lot of time on the tactile feel on this, so when people had it on their desktop, they'd go like, I'm just going to play with my knob here. It sounds bad, but that's what they want to do. And we have two sets of plugs here. We have the 1/4-inch plugs, so if you're using high-end headphones or whatever, they're using the 1/4-inch. We have those. And then we also have the standard 3.5mm jacks as well. So you can use either set, and the pass-through of this goes off the back of the card, and it does use and still utilize the amp from the card as well. So you're still getting the benefit of the headphone amp passing through. And the other unique thing about the ACM is this is kind of the deluxe version of the beamforming mic. Okay. So we have the beamforming mic built in here, and you could see on there, let's see if I can get there's like one little, you could see the holes right there on either side. And that is the two microphones. Okay. So what happened is if this is sitting on your desktop, it just sits there. You can use it for your volume control to control your headphones. But this also becomes your mic. And so instead of sticking on top of your monitor, this could sit on your desk and you get all the advantages of that beamforming microphone there. So we think it's a really cool way to integrate and let the sound card have a presence on your desktop. And cool way for you to be able to plug in your headphones. It extends the headphones out to your desktop, so you're not routing it from the back of your PC and using all kinds of different cables to get that length there.
Yeah, I've often found that even front panel connectors on a PC for mic and headphone don't always do the sound card justice. Yeah. Yeah, I really like having that breakout piece that you can actually plug into directly, rather than having to fish back behind everything. And
absolutely,
you've got the mic built in there as well.
Yeah, and so you plug it in one time, you can put it anywhere you want on your desk, if you're a righty or lefty or wherever you want it, and you're good to go.
All right, so next up we're going to talk about the mythical unicorn.
The unicorn, the prancing.
Which we've only heard rumors of so far.
Yep, and we will be showing that soon. Yeah, the ZXR.
ZXR.
So the ZXR card is our absolutely high-end card. We feel it's the best sound card we've made to date at Sound Blaster, and we've had some, and that's saying a lot because we've had some pretty legendary audio cards. The G2 ZS, the Platinum, the Elite Pro. I mean, we've always had in our lineup a very high-end audiophile card, and the secret has always been audiophile componentry, but really it's for that PC enthusiast that just wants the best of the best, and that typically is where we all migrate to at some point or another. So the ZXR actually is two cards. It has the main card, and everything on the main card is Nichicon front to back. There's no other capacitors on there for the audio side. We're using Burr Brown DACs, so we have the very high-end DACs on board, which are replaceable. So all of the op amps are actually customizable, much like our Titanium HD. Okay. And there's 4 op amps on the card that are all replaceable, so you can replace those. We also are utilizing multiple layer grounding, so we have additional layers in there. We have copper banding on the actual top part of the board as well, which allows us to eliminate even more analog noise. And we've also isolated the digital and analog circuitry from each other on the PCB design itself. So we've really gone through extra steps to make sure that we're giving you the most pristine audio possible. And it's rated at 120 dB, which is a pretty hard ceiling to hit. I mean, if you're going above 120 dB, you're moving into the thousands of dollars when it comes to componentry. So I think that specs up to exactly what that the home enthusiast is going to want. It's just a fantastic card. And then the other piece of the card is we have the DB Pro daughter board, which also has a Sound Core 3D chipset on it. So when you buy the ZXR, you actually get 8 cores of audio because the Sound Core3D is a 4-core chipset handling audio. We have 4 cores running, doing all the multitasking and audio tasks. The ZXR actually has 8 cores because we have 2 processors on there. The DB Pro board handles all the digital I/O, so all of the audio, surround sound, recording, output, as well as the very, very, very high-end 120 dB SNR recording. So if you're venturing into studio level recording at that point, you could plug in a very high-end microphone and plug it into your board, and you're going to be recording at studio quality with this, component board inside of your PC. And again, that goes back to the philosophy of what are people using these boards for. And so the ZXR will go all the way from gaming at its core, recording, for the studio level. We have Audio support on it, so if you're the next up-and-coming Skrillex, you can actually produce your dubstep and drops at home, and on this board front to back. And I'm a digital music producer, so this card is. A lot of the spec has been, no, it has to have this, it has to have this, it has to have this, because I've been building my dream card, so to speak. So, and then of course we include the ACM as well. So the ACM is included in the ZXR also. Different color, it's black, so it's all kind of sleek, black widowed out, versus the red of the ZX card. And but same exact components, just a little bit different of a look to let people know that you stepped up to that ZXR level.
I'll have to get one of those for Mr. Lamb. He loves to produce dubstep.
There you go.
And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I'd like to say a big thank you to Ryan from Creative for stopping by and sharing all this information about the Z-Series.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. And if you guys would like to see more videos, you can find them on our Newegg YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you all next time on Newegg TV.